Kyle here from albumreviews.blogspot.com, and now I'm on part 2 of the 2015-2016 album season preview, everything like that. Trying to do this as quickly as possible to cover as much ground. Of course, there's always tons of these releases. So, on the anticipation, but we don't know when it's coming out. 22 you are creating. 22 are from, I want to say the Netherlands. The Netherlands or Norway. I can't remember what country, but their first album, Flux, was amazing. Sort of progressive pop, experimental, very catchy music. And this album you are creating has been long anticipated because that album came out in 2010. But they have a different singer, but they've confirmed to me on Twitter last week that they are recording it, so very excited for 22. I really think 22, with their new album, if it reaches enough people, could become a lot more well-known, as long as they just use social media a little more than they have. Anyway, but I'm totally excited for that. Anecdota, a band from Israel, they've released a bunch of singles the last 3 or 4 years, this sort of piano-driven, college prog. They're finally releasing their full-length album. They're a little bit like The Reign of Kindo, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later, I think. But certainly check out Anakdota. They're a band that, I mean, the jury's out about how good they could be, but their songs, the singles they've released, their vocals are a little bit like Gentle Giant, I suppose, but the jazzy elements and the progressive sort of time changes and dynamics just really work. And if they put out a whole album like that, I'm going to be totally addicted to it, I bet. The Barnum Reserve will put out another record. They put out their self-titled debut album, this British band from the UK that uses trumpet and stuff like that and strings. But they already had finished writing, if not recording, their second album before the first album came out, the self-titled. And then they had actually been working on their third album, I would expect it to come out, or think it could come out this year, since they already wrote it all and maybe recorded most of it. Blackfield, the return of Blackfield, and Steven Wilson's involvement with Blackfield. This is the 5th Blackfield LP that's supposed to come out soon. Could make a difference because the last 2 Blackfield albums were kind of forgettable to me. I mean, there were a couple songs I remember kind of liking, but the first 2 albums are terrific, though. Very melancholy pop. In fact, given what I've been going through recently, I should be listening to Blackfield, especially the first album. I love that first album. Anyway, moving on. It's the collaboration between Steven Wilson, for people who don't know. Steven Wilson and, what's his name with an A? I can't even remember his name now. Israeli musician, Aviv Geffen, I believe his name is. Anyway, alright, now I can finally pull some stuff out here. British Theatre is going to be coming out with an announcement actually on the 26th of January, which is going to be tomorrow. Mike Van Aert, his project with Gambler, formerly of Oceansize also. Obviously, this is Van Aert's solo album. But British Theatre is a little more electronic than his solo music, and definitely more than Oceansize, which most people know Mike Van Aert from. But the first 2 British Theatre EPs were really good, especially the second one from, it was like 2011, 2012, I forget what year. I think it was 2011. But the full length, they're putting out a whole campaign for it. I've already heard a couple of sort of demo-ish, because I did I actually contributed to this. He's been really great about that. And, oh man, I can't wait for it. It might top this record. And this was in my top 3 or 4 records from 2014, 2015. So yes, all the Oceansize fans and Van Aert fans will definitely want to be looking forward to that British Theatre. And the announcement's going to be made on the 26th. So it's very soon. By the time this video gets up, probably. Alright, so let me just do a kind of a double deal. Both Chloe Alper and John Courtney, formerly of this band, Pure Reason Revolution, have bands that will probably be putting out albums this year. Chloe Alper's band's called Tiny Giant, and it's not as much of a prog thing as, say, she did on Pure Reason Revolution. It's maybe more pop-oriented, it's more kind of covering more styles, I suppose. But the songs that they've released already, the 2 or 3 songs, are quite good. And she's more of a focus. Her voice is more up front. Vocals might even be a little better, although this stuff and even the 2 other records are just to die for. Someday I need to do a whole video on these guys because I loved them. And then John Courtney, also of Pure Revolution, has a project called Bullet Height, and with a female singer, which the name escaped me. I have it written right down here. Her name is Sammy Dahl, who played with a sort of an industrial band at one point called IMX. Even the promo picture online of Courtney and Sammy Dahl looks very gothic. So I don't know if in industrial. I don't know if the Bullet Heist is going to be more industrial. The one song does have an industrial element, but the last Pure Reason Revolution album, not this one. Definitely, they've used a lot of sort of electronic and industrial elements to their sound. So Bullet Heist seems like a natural progression. The fact that they have a lot of female vocals on both these projects, I don't know if at one point they're gonna sort of blur, but I hope not, because I want them both to be sort of on their own thing, but both be really good, which I anticipate them to be. So, all right, let's see here. Diablo Swing Orchestra, they were recording a record last spring, but the Swedish, I want to say, sort of experimental, progressive opera metal band of sorts that use a lot of obviously swing or jazz elements like upright bass and stuff, and they've had opera vocals and not so much recently, but I really liked their last record, the last two records actually, so we'll see, but I definitely want to check that out, and it's been a few years since we've heard from them, so it'd be good to hear from them again. I saw them live though, which was quite a treat out at Prague Par USA in 2009. Dream the Electric Sleep, American band from I think it's Kentucky, put out a record a couple years ago in 2014 I really loved, called Heretics, and they're working with Nick, whatever his name is, Raskunin says, I can't pronounce his name, who produced the last couple Rush records, but Heretics was terrific. So sort of modern college prog vocalist is a little bit like Judah Nagler of the Velveteen or Jimmy Necco from Ours. But I'm definitely looking forward to that record. I don't know when it will come out, but it was like May or June they talked about recording with him. So The Faceless, the first song they've put out with their return of Derek Rydquist, their singer, that is terrific. Something to the Void. I forget the name of it. The Spiraling Void. So, and my interest in this Faceless has kind of dropped in the last few years, but their first record I love, Akeldama. So whenever we hear about when that record's coming out, definitely something I'm looking forward to, in the metal community and the technical death metal community certainly will definitely be interested in it. The Family Crest, they very ambitious sort of chamber pop rock folk project, kind of in the vein of the Deer Hunter, with a lot of instruments, and I don't have my record here, I should show it, but Beneath the Brine from 2014 was terrific, and the live shows are probably even better. But this is a huge, ambitious approach to this next record, or records, that I'm not going to give all the details that I know about, but when it comes out, or when they come out, I think it's going to be a really big deal. At least my curiosity's kind of through the ceiling. So, San Francisco-based band, by the way, and they're going to have 100 people or more involved in this album, or albums, and their last album, Beneath the Brine, probably had close to 50 or 60, but the main core of the band's only about 9 or 10 people. They just are traveling around, at least the U.S., recording different things with different people from what I remember hearing from them about it. Fate's Warning, one of my favorites. I did a special favorites featured video on them, of course. And this album might be a little more focused, at least as far as the writing goes, than the last record, Darkness in a Different Light. Just based on the fact that I think they've had more time to write, at least Jim Matheos and Frank Oresti's also back again, and I don't know, but the little interview I just read, and I posted the link on the blog from Joey Vera, the bass player, sounds very intriguing, but then again, I have a fanboy bias, so Darkness in a Different Light I still enjoy. I just, they've had some records that were less my thing than some, and then they'd come back and put out a great record, so we'll see. Fiacra, finally. This is maybe my most anticipated album of 2015, 2016, 2016. If it comes out. Love this album. My album of the year, even though it was just an EP from 2014 and or 2013, 2014. All I can say is the guy's genius as far as what I've heard from the Mellow Sessions EP, and then this EP, Thought Steps from that year, from a couple years ago. Stylistically, Fiacra covers so much ground, from progressive rock to pop like Duran Duran, to extreme metal like Devin Townsend, to big band jazz, to lounge music, to you name it, to hip hop. So anyway, don't be surprised if the new Fiacra album, if it comes out, is my album of the year come November, December of later this year. Rare Futures. I just found and posted the members used to be in a band called Happy Body Slow Brain, although it's just a trio now. But the album's called This Is Your Brain on Love. And the first song got shared, and it's really quite good, and the little trailer and everything. And there's a connection to Facing New York, and they have some guests on this new album. Facing New York, a band from the mid-2000s I was kind of into. Sort of college prog of a sort that a lot of the Dredge fans and Casfly fans liked. But yeah, after hearing it, I pre-ordered it and everything. I'm really looking forward to this record. It's sort of textured progressive rock of a sort, modern progressive rock, college prog. Anyway, Journal, sort of progressive metalcore. They put out a tremendous debut album in 2011. I think it was a debut album on Lorgia, and they haven't been heard since, but they've been working on it, and the record's supposed to be out sometime this year, so it could be one of the best metal albums of the year. Spencer Ludwig of Capital Cities, the trumpet player, is putting out a solo album, and I'm certainly intrigued by that. He's one of my favorite parts of Capital Cities, and we'll see what kind of differences. I'm sure it's not going to be exactly like Capital Cities, maybe more jazzy, more influence on the jazz, so I'm not sure about the vocals and all that stuff, but certainly he's already even announced that he's got the album coming out. I don't know the name yet, but certainly looking forward to that. Let's see, Marillion. Well, I've said enough on this channel on my blog about Marillion. Here's their Sounds That Can't Be Made deluxe edition or whatever, of course. It's Marillion. I'm a fanboy. That's all I need to say. I'm probably gonna love a lot of it. I got my sort of Kool-Aid that I'll be drinking when I check it out. Yeah, no, and I'm gonna hopefully see them live next fall in the U.S. But and they posted a bunch of titles, a couple, like 3 or 4 epics, which isn't new for Marillion, obviously. But whether the casual fan or the old fan gets into them from this album, I don't know. But it's their 18th studio album. They're not really trying to reinvent. They're not going to totally reinvent themselves and try to make tons of new fans. They're just going to do what they do, and the people that love them, like myself, will probably enjoy it. Not everyone enjoys everything they do, but most people do. The Mercury Tree, another band from 2014 that put out an album I got into and was introduced to them. Sort of band out of Portland, Oregon, sort of math, prog, post-rock of a sort. And they were working on it. They'd recorded a lot of it last fall. I saw them live, and I wouldn't anticipate anything different, or anything different. I mean, from the sound of what they played, some of the new songs I wrote in the blog, they kind of reminded me of Cynic. They were maybe more in a metal direction, more in a technical direction, even than the last album, Countenance, they put out. So, and they don't sound exactly like Porcupine Tree, even though the Mercury Tree has the name, and I'm sure they're fans. I'm pretty sure they are. Moonloop and Oddland, I'll just kind of briefly go over them. 2 sort of Opeth influenced bands. I don't want to say that they're exactly alike, but I'm just going to sort of get through this quickly. But both of them I enjoyed in, I think, 2011, 2012, courtesy of that drummer guy especially, but definitely curious, and their records are supposed to come out relatively soon. Alright, here's another big one for me, of course, and I need to talk about them probably more down the road here, but this isn't their new album, obviously. Ours. And last I heard, at one point, it was supposed to come out in January. Obviously, it's not coming out in January, but they'll probably do another campaign or something, or, it could be a couple years if it doesn't, because the last time they had an album which was anticipated for a while, in 2006, it took till 2008 to come out. Now, that had to do with the label, but because Jimmy Necco has tons and tons of songs written, and they have a studio, though, now in New York, so that helps, but who knows. They can be hush-hush, and they play a lot of live shows. When they talk about it on social media, they don't talk about the recording of the records that often, although the other members of ours, like Static, the guitarist, probably would be, and I don't follow him enough as I should, so that might give me some insights. But if it doesn't come out this year, it'll come out maybe the next couple of years, but if it comes out this year, I'm a fanboy, and I'm sure I'm going to be really interested to hear it. Let's see here. Alright, Pain of Salvation. I need to do a full video about them too, but they've been recording the last few months, and they've posting even this month, I believe. Daniel Gildenlow has been. And, and I can just say that I'm definitely excited to hear Pain of Salvation, whatever they put out. The last couple albums, Rolled Salt, weren't necessarily my thing, but stylistically, Daniel Gildenlow's been quoted about doing more heavy stuff, and maybe more of the stuff, more similar to some of the stuff from the early periods, like Entropia and like the Perfect Element. So we'll see. But even though the personnel is all different, other than Daniel from the not and Leo the drummer, I believe Leo Marguerite, but most of the personnel from the period I really love Pain of Salvation is not there anymore. But we'll see. I just Daniel Gilden though has historically been such a phenomenal songwriter and it's been a long time even since the Road Salt period. The Falling Home compilation they put out last year was interesting enough. It was a different take on some older songs, and the song Falling Home was good. They put some covers. I don't know. It depends on the Road Salt albums were very classic rock and folky kind of influence, but I think they're gonna get back to their metal or heavier edge. That's the thought at least, and that when they do heavy stuff, generally they're pretty good. And this would, along with Fiacre, I would put down as probably my other highest anticipated record if it comes out this year. Pepe Deluxe, not this record obviously, but it's been 4 years since Queen of the Wave. They tend to work and be very patient and have gaps between their albums, so it may come out in 2016, it may be 2017, 2018 or something like that. But the two dudes from, I believe I want to say Finland, and then some of the other members are across parts of Europe, I think, but this is a masterpiece. This is my favorite record from 2012, Queen of the Waves. So if they put anything any close to this, I think Fiacre. Where's my Fiacre CD? Fiacre. These two, if I had my druthers, and most optimistic situation, these are the two bands I want albums to come out with the most, and I could see them duking it out. But neither of them may put out a record this year. One may, not the other. One may not be as good. Who knows? We don't know. But anyway, let's see here. I think that's about it for this portion, and then I'll go on. There's a bunch of vinyls coming out, including Transatlantic and Spock's Beard, and the Cats Fly, hopefully Horses Gallantly on Sailboats vinyl. But I'm going to stop now and try to do part 3 and wrap this up.